I'm also very interested, Xiaolu, how you define family, because, you know, when I was reading A Lover's Discourse, you know, I mean, you can maybe introduce the book to the room here. We have copies here for sale. But the drive of that is a young woman in the UK meeting a man, having a baby. If that's not family, I don't know what is. I'm interested how you think about what is family when you're writing, when you say Lover's Discourse isn't a family book in the way that your memoir is when it talks about your parents.
Mm. Well, family is a very heavy thing. I mean, I think, you know, as, I don't know how Damon's experience in South Africa, I think when I think of my family and I think of China, you know, it is two very heavy emotional baggage, and of course, you know, full of love, but full of trouble. And I think, you know, a person's early life is truly kind of, you know, marking a lot of things, but I don't want to, you know, completely surrender to, you know, all those signatures from those, only from those years. I felt somehow the troubled early years, because I didn't grow up with my parents and, you know, just really away from them in my early years. And also I left as a teenager, went to Beijing to study cinema. And I think those very limited several years, I think condensed all the troubles I had, you know, with my communist father and my very peasant red guard mother. I think that the contrast they hold in their marriage was really the contrast of you know, the trouble of modern China, you know, the ideological way of living, and then this kind of very tough, earthy way of living, which, you know, my father presents, you know, in each position. And then when I left China, I was 29, and I think this really heavy, almost like depression, for me to, you know, to chew, to digest, and it's through my work, really, through my film and my books, you know, to come to terms with the whole very complex emotional burden.
And Damon, how do you square that emotional burden that Xiaolu's talking about of your family and your early life with the adult you become and the stories that you tell? How would you say the one influences the other? How does it inform your writing and your thinking today?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is a question, the answer to which can go off in multiple directions. So let me just choose a couple of directions and say, I mean, family in the most obvious traditional sense is that group of blood relations amongst whom you grow up. And obviously that intimacy forms bonds that may be full of, you know, conflict, but from which most of us, one way or another, spend the rest of our lives trying to, you know, escape, embrace, whatever. It's a connection that lasts lifelong. But I do want to say that I think more and more, maybe this is, you know, more a Western thing, more and more the notion of a chosen family sort of takes root, and it's certainly something that carries quite a lot of weight in my life. I have people I regard as family, even though they aren't blood relations. And it's hard to say why, just that in some way you feel a connection with particular people that's so close, you regard them maybe in the same way that you would a blood relation. I mean, I live with someone who's not an intimate partner, who I see as a brother, and I would, you know, do things for him that I would do for my brother. And yeah, there are various other friends with whom I'm so close, to whom I'm so close, that it feels like, yeah, the kind of intimate bond that family usually represents. And, you know, conversely, again, I mean, that's not necessarily the case with me, but there are family members who have transgressed the assumptions that go with an intimate bond to such an extent that you no longer regard them as family. If your, you know, parents, siblings, anybody hurts you, betrays you, in such a profound way that you feel that bond is broken, you may not choose to see them or maintain a connection, and then in some emotional way they cease to be family. So it's a slightly tangential answer, but yeah, for me a chosen family is just as powerful, sometimes more powerful than the one that life bestows on you.